Today, we discuss about rivers flow through Pakistan. How many rivers flow through Pakistan? A. 5. B. 31. C. 8. D. 36. Answer, B. 31. How many rivers flow through Punjab? A. 4. B. 5. C. 6. D. 8. Answer, B. 5. How many rivers flow through Khyber Pakhtunkhwa? A. 4. B. 5. C. 7. D. 12. Answer, D. 12. How many rivers flow through Gilgit-Baltistan? A. 4. B. 5. C. 7. D. 8. Answer, A. 4. How many rivers flow through Balochistan? A. 4. B. 5. C. 6. D. 8. Answer, C. 6. How many rivers flow through Sindh? A. 4. B. 5. C. 7. D. 8. Answer, A. 4. What is the total length of Ravi River? A. 400 kilometers. B. 520 kilometers. C. 720 kilometers. D. 600 kilometers. Answer is C. 720 kilometers in Punjab. What is the length of Ravi River in Pakistan? A. 400 kilometers. B. 520 kilometers. C. 720 kilometers. D. 600 kilometers. Answer, A. 400 kilometers in Punjab. What is the total length of Beas River? A. 400 kilometers. B. 520 kilometers. C. 470 kilometers. D. 600 kilometers. Answer is C. 470 kilometers in Punjab. What is the total length of Jhelum River? A. 400 kilometers. B. 520 kilometers. C. 470 kilometers. D. 725 kilometers. Answer, D. 725 kilometers in Punjab. What is the total length of Chenab River? A. 400 kilometers. B. 974 kilometers. C. 470 kilometers. D. 725 kilometers. Answer, B. 974 kilometers in Punjab. What is the total length of Sutlej River? A. 1450 kilometers. B. 520 kilometers. C. 1046 kilometers. D. 725 kilometers. Answer, A. 1450 kilometers in Punjab. What is the total length of Indus River? A. 3180 kilometers. B. 520 kilometers. C. 2430 kilometers. D. 725 kilometers. Answer, A. 3180 kilometers in Sindh. What is the total length of Hub River? A. 400 kilometers. B. 134 kilometers. C. 470 kilometers. D. 725 kilometers. Answer, B. 134 kilometers in Sindh. What is the total length of Lyari River? A. 90 kilometers. B. 520 kilometers. C. 50 kilometers. D. 725 kilometers. Answer C. 50 kilometers in Sindh. What is the total length of Malir River? A. 400 kilometers. B. 50 kilometers. C. 470 kilometers. D. 39 kilometers. Answer D. 39 kilometers in Sindh. What is the total length of Kabul River? A. 400 kilometers. B. 50 kilometers. C. 700 kilometers. D. 39 kilometers. Answer is C. 700 kilometers in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. What is the total length of Swat River? A. 400 kilometers. B. 240 kilometers. C. 700 kilometers. D. 390 kilometers. Answer B. 240 kilometers in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. What is the total length of Chitral River? A. 400 kilometers. B. 240 kilometers. C. 700 kilometers. D. 480 kilometers. Answer D. 480 kilometers in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. What is the total length of Kunhar River? A. 177 kilometers. B. 240 kilometers. C. 700 kilometers. D. 480 kilometers. Answer A. 177 kilometers in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. What is the total length of Siren River? A. 177 kilometers. B. 240 kilometers. C. 700 kilometers. D. 130 kilometers. Answer D. 130 kilometers in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. What is the total length of Panchkora River? A. 177 kilometers. B. 240 kilometers. C. 220 kilometers. D. 130 kilometers. Answer C. 220 kilometers in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. What is the total length of Bara River? A. 177 kilometers. B. 24 kilometers. C. 220 kilometers. D. 21 kilometers. Answer D. 21 kilometers in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. What is the total length of Kurum River? A. 177 kilometers. B. 320 kilometers. C. 220 kilometers. D. 210 kilometers. Answer B. 320 kilometers in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. What is the total length of Dor River? A. 60 kilometers. B. 320 kilometers. C. 95 kilometers. D. 210 kilometers. Answer A. 60 kilometers in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. What is the total length of Haro River? A. 60 kilometers. B. 320 kilometers. C. 28 kilometers. D. 210 kilometers. Answer is C. 28 kilometers in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. What is the total length of Zob River? A. 60 kilometers. B. 320 kilometers. C. 28 kilometers. D. 410 kilometers. Answer D. 410 kilometers in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. What is the total length of Gomel River? A. 60 kilometers. B. 400 kilometers. C. 28 kilometers. D. 610 kilometers. Answer, B. 400 kilometers in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. What is the total length of Dasht River? A. 60 kilometers. B. 400 kilometers. C. 28 kilometers. D. 430 kilometers. Answer, D. 430 kilometers in Balochistan. What is the total length of Hub River? A. 60 kilometers. B. 134 kilometers. C. 28 kilometers. D. 430 kilometers. Answer, B. 134 kilometers in Balochistan. What is the total length of Hingal River? A. 560 kilometers. B. 134 kilometers. C. 280 kilometers. D. 430 kilometers. Answer, A. 560 kilometers in Balochistan. What is the total length of Mula River? A. 56 kilometers. B. 134 kilometers. C. 22 kilometers. D. 430 kilometers. Answer is C. 22 kilometers in Balochistan. What is the total length of Bolan River? A. 89 kilometers. B. 134 kilometers. C. 22 kilometers. D. 430 kilometers. Answer, A. 89 kilometers in Balochistan. What is the total length of Nari River? A. 89 kilometers. B. 134 kilometers. C. 22 kilometers. D. 200 kilometers. Answer, D. 200 kilometers in Balochistan. What is the total length of Shyok River? A. 550 kilometers. B. 134 kilometers. C. 220 kilometers. D. 200 kilometers. Answer, A. 550 kilometers in Gilgit-Baltistan. What is the total length of Gilgit River? A. 550 kilometers. B. 134 kilometers. C. 240 kilometers. D. 200 kilometers. Answer is C. 240 kilometers in Gilgit-Baltistan. What is the total length of Hunza River? A. 550 kilometers. B. 190 kilometers. C. 240 kilometers. D. 200 kilometers. Answer, B. 190 kilometers in Gilgit-Baltistan. What is the total length of Bralda River? A. 550 kilometers. B. 90 kilometers. C. 240 kilometers. D. 78 kilometers. Answer, D. 78 kilometers in Gilgit-Baltistan. The major river system of Pakistan originates from A. Himalayas. B. Karakoram Range. C. Both. D. None of these. Answer, C. Both. If you find this video informative, then like it and subscribe my YouTube channel please. Thank you.